messing around talking. I don't think your mic, is your mic hot?
I don't know. Is it?
You don't have your, you put your cell phone, get your cell phone out.
Oh, that's right.
Put that,
That's
close
right.
that, cut that off. Now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, because that thing messed up.
Yeah, this gives us an opportunity to.
Okay, got it on silent.
Okay, so what we're going to do, as I said before, we're going to call this fear, distress, and duress.
Fear, distress, and duress.
Yeah, and so you can carry that through, huh?
I can carry it through on fear.
Huh?
On fear.
Well, you know, I mean, all of that that's connected.
That's
you know,
right.
And so you. What I want you to do is to. First of all, we're going to do that 6 minutes, background,
That's
education,
right.
experience, and we're going to do that.
That's right.
And then we're going to talk about, during that next 8 minutes, we should do some information in reference to fear. That will be the beginning of that. And you've got all those kinds of personal experiences that you're going to talk about.
Yes, I do.
And you want to take off your microphone, too.
Okay.
You come here all laden down with all kinds of.
You travel in transit, man. You have to protect yourself. And there was something else I wanted to mention. The in the area, Dr. Haney, of the fear and growing up on a diet of fear. I think about how my mother was suffering from malnutrition when she was pregnant with me. There are things that you can tell when. Is it my mic hot?
Yeah.
It is? Okay.
Hey, Dr. Haney, he gonna take over for me.
Okay.
You already met Mark.
Yeah, I met him this morning.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Fine, you too. Thank you.
You just stand over there and you just show them the kids.
Told him how pampered I am.
Today,
Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Haney.
Appreciate you. Good.
Okay.
So Miss Brown is not coming today, huh?
All right, Mark, man. Good night. I appreciate it. Good luck in the morning, Mark.
So Miss Brown is not coming today, huh?
No, not today.
Okay. And so, are we ready now?
Yeah, we should be good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I tell you, why don't you see if we can get seated here?
Okay.
And I think the chairs won't move by themselves now.
Okay.
They're not on wheels.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm going to swing up into mine, and we're going to get started. Is that right? Is that all right?
Jason, you ready, sir?
Yeah, well, no problems, no problems. Just want to make sure that everybody's ready and whatever. And as soon as we get through with this show, we can get to the last show. And that's what I work toward. Every time I come, I work toward the last show.
That's your goal.
Every
Is
time.
this the last one, Dr. Haney?
No, this is not the last one.
Okay.
This is the one before the last one.
Last fair, okay.
Yeah. So this is.
You know, Dr. Haney, I've lost about 20 pounds.
I can tell. I can tell.
Feel much better.
And so, how you were able to get over some of the illnesses?
Oh yeah,
some of
the hernia repair, the leg is healing up, and I have more evidence to show that I may be able to get my father's military fund that he never used in the hospital. He suffered from high cholera and high stuff like that.
Okay, good. So we'll be able to do that as soon as.
Okay,
Is he ready? Okay, good. Let me swing up in here.
Now, is my mic hot?
Yeah.
It is, okay.
I got it here.
You want a mic check from could you say your name and count to 10 for us?
Okay, Taylor Gregory. Do I count out?
I'll keep going.
Yeah, go on. 1, 2, 3. You know.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, what I'd like for you to do is to this is 30 minutes. Okay. First, we've got 6 minutes, and then we'll take that break.
Yeah, I was in there.
8, okay, good. And so you okay, just make sure I'm aware of the time. You see, I think we've got it up here somewhere, but oftentimes what I need to do, I need some signals. You know, when we get to a minute or 2 minutes or et cetera, do that for me, okay? And as I often tell people, I'm the only person that can mess this up now. See, and that's why
I can jump in front of you.
no, that's about the only way you can mess it up. Yeah, we've got it. So we're going to call this fear, distress, and duress. Is that what you wanted? Was that the title that you would like?
Yes, mainly, mainly the duress. You know, yeah, all of
fear,
that.
fear, distress, and duress. Okay, I like, you know, and so that first six minutes will be background, education, experience.
Yes.
That's you. And then after that is done, then we're going to go into that second segment.
Okay.
After this 2-minute break, and then we'll do that 10-minute segment.
And in the area of the distress, you have to help me out with that. I'm not sure.
No, you know, just talk about what you want to talk about.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to be guiding you or whatever.
Okay.
I don't think you said that you wanted to talk about fear.
Yes.
And I thought we'd throw some other things in order to make it sound much more interesting. But if you talk about fear for 30 minutes, it's all right with me. But just make sure that we're doing everything. We're getting a lot of good camera shots.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Taylor first.
Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is fear. And we have with us to talk about fear this morning, Gregory Taylor. Gregory Taylor has been with us on a number of occasions, and I don't think that he's a stranger to many members of our audience. And so let me welcome you, Brother Taylor, to the show this morning and tell you how delighted we are to have you, and to also let you know that some of the things that you've talked about earlier on this show, people have been very, very complimentary in terms of some of the things that you've said. And that's what I'd like to do today. I'd like to talk about a very, very important topic that you said that you wanted to talk about in a real sense, and that is fear. And so let's start off by first giving us some information in reference to your background, your education, and some of your experiences, and then during that second segment, we'll have an opportunity to start with fear, distress, duress, all those negative kind of things that help to lead people into wrong direction. So let's start off from that perspective.
Okay. Well, I'm a native of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and my name is Taylor Gregory. Last time I used Gregory Taylor, and that's a representation of a lot of the fears that I have grown up with. And I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, went to school at Selma University, and my father was roots were in San Salvador. My mother was Choctaw and Blackfoot Indian. We went to school in the Tuscaloosa County High Schools, and went to Stillman College, University of Alabama, and then we transferred to Selma. But I just have had special interest in personal development and turning my life into my product. Those kind of things have been my goal. Whatever it is that I have lived, I have wanted to develop my ability to speak in order to share it with others, so that others can grow and see things in their life that they may have never thought about.
And so you feel that for some reason that you've been hampered in a real sense, your own personal development through what you consider to be fear. Now, why don't you explain that to us?
Okay.
How does that happen?
Okay. I consider myself to have grown up on what I call a duress diet, a diet of fear. Being the youngest son on the 4 girls, I have been fed fear through the sounds in their tongues of their voices. And it has taught me how to make distinctions between their sounds. Their words can be appropriate and their sounds can insult you. And being the youngest son on the 4 girls, it got my attention when I was young how my mother would speak differently when she spoke to a Caucasian male, and she spoke differently as she spoke to my father and I. So I began to inquire to Caucasian males as well as females what was the reason for the difference, that type of thing, you know. And I never forget in the law library at Georgia State University when I first discovered the word duress. It means you raise a child with a threatening fear. And so I've been fed that, and it's been to the degree that I have not known how to know what it was not, you know, because it has just been on me so long. And then there was a sister who shared with me once. She said, Gregory, she said, if people sense that you're fearful, they will turn it on you. I said, well, y'all kept the fear button on me all the time. I never knew how to not know fear. Exactly. So I have a wonder if it's a mystery to me. I'm curious about it and things of that nature. But most importantly, through sound, my uncle told me that my mother fussed a lot when she was pregnant with me. She also did some, she said she was suffering from malnutrition. So all of these things affect a woman when she's pregnant. Even after she's pregnant, she carries memories of having been hungry if she was pregnant. It echoes in the prints of her voice and these type of things. So these are some of my experiences in that area.
And so in a real sense, you think that you're really living a life that has already been laid out for you in terms of your earlier experiences, even in the womb.
Yes.
In a real sense, I think that that's what you're essentially what you're saying. Is that what
Exactly, Dr. Haney. And I borrowed the quote here of Sir Winston Churchill. And he said that the further one can go back, the further forward you can see. And that is very true in how our young people today.
And I tell you what we'll do. We're going to take this first commercial break, and then we're going to come back and pick up at that point.
Okay.
And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. You see, yeah, you know, be aggressive with me, you know, yeah, do like that, because if you lay back and just sort of throw it up, then I can't catch it. But pamper me, you know, like I was saying earlier, pamper. Okay, no problems. Okay, very good. So we've got, this is our second segment, and we've got 8 minutes in this segment. And so we're going to start off the same way, and I'm going to introduce you. And you said Taylor Gregory. Taylor Gregory.
Yes, yes.
Now,
and I'll explain that.
Can you explain
Yes.
that to you? Would
Yes.
you like to explain that
Yes.
now to us? Because,
Yes.
I mean, that's an odd thing to me.
Yes.
Because I thought, and after knowing you for so long,
Yes.
I thought you were Greg Taylor.
That's in Alabama.
And well, you don't mind explaining
Not
that?
at all.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Are we ready?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because and
It
so
is true. It is Greg Taylor, but it's a reason for that, and I'll explain.
Yeah,
It's all
well,
connected.
yeah, because you know it got me kind of confused. I thought you were Greg Taylor, and you're Taylor Gregory.
I am Gregory Taylor in Alabama, but in Tennessee, I'm Taylor Gregory.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to explain it because you've been with us on so many occasions,
That's
you know,
right,
and so I've thought of you've been Gregory Taylor. Okay.
Okay. It's the same. Okay.
Can I be Gregory? Can you be Gregory Taylor here now?
Yes,
Or what?
yes,
Okay, and
yes.
then you explain it
Okay.
right to me because I mean that's sort of. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. The topic is fear, and we have with us to talk about fear, Gregory Taylor. And I think that Mr. Taylor has been Gregory Taylor with us each time that we've had this show, but now I think he has some additional information to add which might constitute part of the title of this chapter today, something that has to do with fear. Is that right, Gregory?
That's exactly
right.
Why
don't you talk about from that perspective?
Sure. And Dr. Haney, the reason I've started to use the name Taylor Gregory, Gregory Taylor in Alabama and in my family, they learned to use sounds. They hardly ever pronounce the name Gregory correct. They used the second G was always sounded like a K. Greg, you know, Greg, you know, and all of this was designed to strike fear or to control you, this type of thing. And so after studying it and hearing these different sounds in their voice, it taught me to learn to interpret their sounds, forced me to try to learn to outthink them, these type of things like that, or to think ahead. And so when I say Taylor Gregory, it's a different spin on it. I'm leaving the Gregory, sort of putting it last to explain it later. But it's also connected to this subject today, having grown up on a diet of duress, you know, a duress diet. And it's like all of the sounds that you've heard of your life coming from the women in my family, it has taught me how to make the distinction in the sounds of voice. And the Bible tells you in 1 Corinthians 14, chapter 7 and 8 verse, that things that are dead can give sound. But how can you make a distinction between the sounds? Also, in customer service in America today, and I have to be honest here, I'm not comfortable in getting an African-American woman in customer service because when you get them, you hear their interpersonal communication skills at home, or because you are a person of color, you have to deal with their sounds. And I respond to sound, not words. And to get my mother's attention, when I discovered the word duress, I sued her and charged her with duress, but the purpose of it was, this was the only way that I was able to get her attention. And I had heard her come home from court, and her girls would discuss how she had manipulated the judge and different things of that nature. So today, one of the delights of my life today is to hear the voice of the new Attorney General. Her voice is so clear. To me, it has put all the other American African women voices on trial because there's so much manipulation in the voice. And I did a study on the telephone, and I thought Booker T. Washington had the first telephone in Alabama, but I discovered it was the Dinkins family in Selma, and they helped to form the Alabama government. Most of them went to Oberlin College. And saying that point to make this point, our telephones, I believe, were more used for deceptive purposes instead of just straightforward business. And then if the Dinkins were the first to have a telephone, who were they talking to? Who wasn't other than African American, you know? They were talking to the people who they had been educated to help the American government, to community, to make life better or to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, and those type of things. And so I have gone through so many experiences, and I'm very serious about the customer service. Good customer service is America's future. And it was the CEO of Coca-Cola, I think it's the CEO Roberto Guzetta, who said that good customer service is America's future, and we must do everything as if America's future depend on it, because it really does, and God's in the detail. And I can't ever say this anymore. I have a sister here who's in the apartment business for 30-something years, and she recently met the lady who's apartment manager where I live. I saw something in both of them that caused me to take her off of my emergency contact list. In the emergency room, my medical doctor, as well as my hospital. And so all of these things that's going on there, their voices can be both causing and accusing. They ask and answer. And two Caucasian females shared with me that some American African women, they speak with a double negative and a false resonance. And see,
Now, what do you mean when they say they speak with a double negative and a false resonance?
I have the layman terms that I use for that, that they explain and complain in the same voice. Yeah, and it creates problems in customer service, or they get to the phone, they say something like, this is your second or third call. If they had been talking right from the first time, you wouldn't have had to call back, you know. It's just a game, and it's something that has been going on, and it's a reflection. But the Attorney General's voice, the U.S. Attorney General, never have there been an American African woman in that position who have that kind of authority and the time to think about what she say. And I see it because her voice is just a blessing to me to hear, but it has put the other American African women voices on trial over all the things that they have done over the years to manipulate, to control the men, and to achieve different things that they've done. It's all on trial. And I'm anticipating by this time next year, maybe sooner, the American African woman will be the most depressed person in America because she has got to deal with all the ways that she's learned to use her voice. And the mothers even teach them. And on February the 10th, after the Ferguson verdict went down, I contacted Social Security and told them to scratch my African ancestry. I'm just going with the Choctaw and the Blackfoot. And I'm serious because I understand the emotions of the 60s. There was a nun, 90-something-year-old nun here, who confirmed for me that the emotions of the 60s have turned into a virus, and it is affecting people's ability to explain what it is that is affecting them. Some have what I call, they're living and alive, and they are actually afraid to be. And they may even consider themselves of being suicidal or something of that nature. But it is imperative, you know, that these things be brought attention to. I took a conflict resolution class at Vanderbilt. Dr. Tom, I think he's pastor of the West End Church. He talked about battle messages and learned conversations. And living in the MDH housing as I do, I can't see why they don't start teaching requiring conflict resolution classes, and even have in the buildings where you can use your headphones to not disturb people, because there are 50 million people in America suffering from hearing loss, and a lot of people do not want that to be known. And it's creating unnecessary problem, calling the police out for mighty noise. You know, it's just, to me, a waste of resources that could be used in other places.
And so you believe all of this has to do with customer service?
Based on,
and it's a fear that...
Well, based on what the late CEO of Coca-Cola said, Roberto Gazzetta, and I heard Jim Blanchard of Synovia Corporation say this is a corporation where it was named 3 times straight in America to work. Jim Blanchard said that a lot of American corporations have lost the ability to appreciate. And at Selma University, that is what we was drilled in us, to find people who would appreciate us. And one of the things I appreciate about the CEO, T.B. Boyd, of the customers of the Boyd Publishing, I had a chance to speak to him one day, and at the end of the conversation, he said, "I appreciate you." You know, that goes along.
Okay, and of course, Taylor,
Yes.
what we'll do is take this second commercial break, and then we'll come back, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Got 10 minutes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. And so I'm going to start again now. Now, are you still Gregory Taylor or Taylor Gregory?
Either one, Dr. Haney. I'm just using Taylor. I'm using Taylor Gregory but you can use.
It's a pseudonym. Is that what you said?
No. Actually, what it is, people who, you pronounce Gregory very well, but there are people who do not pronounce Gregory very well, and it tells me what's thinking and going on in their head. If you don't pronounce Gregory well, it tells me how confused you are in your head.
I know what he's talking about.
You do?
There's a lot of people that say thing, but there's a lot of people that say think.
Yeah, that's right. But for you, Dr. Haney, you say the name Gregory very well, so that's fine. I'm just using it differently here.
Well, I know, but I'm trying to introduce you to
that's right.
this show.
But go ahead, use it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Gregory Taylor,
yeah,
Professor Gregory Taylor. You know, I call you professor because that's what you're doing. You're teaching.
Research, I'm really a researcher, but that's good.
Professor, and et cetera, and et cetera.
Yes.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're connected with an institution
right.
as such.
That's
You
right.
can be a professor and profess.
That's right. And
to talk about something.
That's right. And not bragging, Dr. Haney, I am of the persuasion that I'm under the influence of becoming the next J. Paul Getty.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't even know how to handle that. You see, but
I just thought I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well. 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so we got 10 minutes. And so I'm going to introduce the topic again.
Yes.
And then talk about fear.
Yes.
And the rest.
Yes.
Yes. And to Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Professor Gregory Taylor, and he's giving us some information relative to fear and some of the personal things that has happened in his life, that has, in a real sense, shaped his ability to be able to meet and deal with a number of issues that all of us might have in our lives. So let's just do it from that perspective, yes. Professor Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Haney. And this, I think, will be the best part of the segment of the show, and I'll use a very popular figure to make my point. Mm-hmm. In the early 60s, when I first heard the voice, when I first heard the voice of Dr. MLK Jr., I said to myself secretly, I said, this man's life is going to be in the way of me growing up. Mm-hmm. I became afraid of his voice. And so I didn't take in his speeches. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't believe that. They don't see how that could have been done. Mm-hmm. But what actually took place was when I first heard his voice, I said, this is something that I didn't want to take in. Mm-hmm. I was afraid of it, but I would not take it in to get an understanding of what the fear was. Mm-hmm. And about 2 or 3 months ago, I wrote made application to the Guinness Book of World Records. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm the tiredest person in the world of the MLK Civil Rights Movement. All of it has to do with fear. Mm-hmm. And being afraid of his voice and asking myself the question, why? I had a minister in a church who said once, whenever you're dealing with something and whenever it comes up, he was a judge mm-hmm. and a minister, he said to question it, and each time you keep questioning it, you'll get new ideas. But on May 2000, mm-hmm. I was speaking at a school in Decatur, Georgia, and there was a psychologist there, and she said that his voice was hypnotic. They were discussing, said MLK's voice was hypnotic, mm-hmm. and I just happened to have heard that. And so I said, would you say that again? She said, yes, his voice was hypnotic. And I said, that's what it was, mm-hmm. Hypnotic. But I didn't listen to it. I didn't take it in because I was afraid of it. Mm-hmm. And so what I am witnessing today is I believe a lot of American people have been unconsciously hypnotized by his voice, especially the American African. Mm-hmm. And I think that they have been unconsciously orphaned by his voice, mm-hmm. his messages, his speeches. And they can't see backwards, they see him. They see now, they see him. They see ahead, they see him. And I believe that this is only going to lead to more what I call adult incubators, jails, prisons, mm-hmm. that need to be built on historical black college campuses, mm-hmm. in particular Morehouse, mm-hmm. who he was the alum that used the jail more than anybody else to get rights, mm-hmm. and he got them the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And even in Birmingham, there are a lot of preachers who have to go to jail in order to get an understanding of the letter that he wrote in the Birmingham jail. Mm-hmm. I got in touch with the 8 ministers who wrote the letter to him and got their opinion of it. Mm-hmm. And they told me that they told him that they admired what he was doing, but they felt it was too soon. And to bring it on, make a main point, my life I learned through the Vanderbilt program, the Oceanlock Learning Program, that my life is a counter-narrative of MLK. I made sure that everything that I could find that he did wrong, I made sure that I did that right, because we lost our...
Now, what were some of the things that you consider that he did wrong?
Well, from what I understand, that nonviolent civil disobedience was not the best method for getting rights in this country. Mm-hmm. And the evidence is on the wall now. Mm-hmm. You know, you didn't do that. Dr. J.H. Jackson, in the book Unity and the Conflict of the Black Leaders, by Peter Parrish, a professor from Vanderbilt.
I know him.
Mm-hmm. He said that, Dr. J.H. Jackson said that even though nonviolent civil disobedience was not violent, it caused violence, and that it would eventually lead to overthrowing the American government. And I believe that the MLK, Dr. MLK Jr., his purpose, from what Dr. Jackson said, was to overthrow the American government. That has backfired.
Do you think that it was to overthrow the government or to make the government responsible in reference to the needs of the African American and the needs of the population? That is, the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments. Would that be to support that? Would that be to overthrow the government, do you think?
Well, I would have to speak from the point of protests and production.
Mm-hmm.
If they had went the route of production, mm-hmm. I believe, and if they had gotten May 17th as our first national education holiday, which should have been done. A lot of people don't know that. The MLK holiday should not be our first national holiday. Mm-hmm. And personally, I believe that they should move the monument in Washington to Atlanta, because I believe it's deceiving the American people they have been unconsciously hypnotized by his speeches or his DREAM overthrown. I mean, there's more jail cells in our young people's mind than brain cells as a result of the 60s after 50 years. And one leading minister here, been in the pulpit about 50-some years, said that in Washington, D.C., when they celebrated the March on Washington, that they were making the wrong speeches and singing the wrong songs. And I couldn't believe he said that. No,
well, I can't believe that you're saying some of the things that you're saying here, too, in reference to that. And so is it your contention that the civil rights movement should not have occurred? Well, what would you have believed should have happened had there been no civil rights movement, no fight for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution?
Well, that is an excellent question. Dr. Haney, I grew up in a multicultural community, Tuscaloosa, on a street where there were Choctaw Indians, Koreans, even one of my little playmates, Johnny Sexton, father was Ku Klux. And we understood and interacted there. My pastor was preaching in white churches, and we had a white minister by the name of Dr. H.O. Hester was coming to preach at our church. And when my pastor and father died, Dr. Hester became like a father to me. So my father was on an integrated machine gun crew. His roots were in the islands. I've been multicultural through and through. So I interact with all the races. But the other point in my family was my sister was impounded on a bus where two nuns wouldn't give up their seat. The bus was taken to the sheriff lot, and my father had to leave a shift job at Ryco Chemical to go say she was on her way to Stillman College. And I was just in the 3rd grade. But I witnessed, Dr. Haney, how that very thing led to us to stopping discussion and start fussing because they had learned to protest. First African Baptist Church in Tuscaloosa, that was what you call the Freedom Choir was going. A lot of people left the churches and went to First African to become a part of the Freedom Choir. All of this, I was just young, but I was remembering because it led to something that I didn't understand. And this September, this past March 8th, when they were celebrating the March in Washington, it came to me that our interpersonal communication skills were affected by the emotion from the 60s. And in the Selma University Chronicle, Dr. L. Wilkins wrote that when the Civil Rights Movement left Selma, it left a schism, a lack of spiritualness, a moral decay, and affected the families, the schools, and the churches. Schism, lack of spiritualness, and a moral decay, and it took the kids a whole year to learn how to concentrate in class again. Now you take that and put it over into Ferguson, and what you get, a lot of the kids in Ferguson miss their lunches at school that its situation happened out there. So they have not examined the 60s, even also in the book Black in Selma. If you read pages 147 to 203, you'll get the history of that movie. There were civil rights activists in Selma who went into the homes of black men and humiliated them in front of their family because they did not want to use that route. I was trespassed from Selma University when the people on the board were civil rights activists, and they punished us for our educators who didn't embrace the movement. So it's so much in this area, and it's all connected to fear. And Dr. Jackson pointed that out, that to coercion, to fear, a lot of the things that they were using. And for me personally, I just got it. Liberty and justice for all, it didn't reach me. And I don't have no good feelings or anything. I don't listen to the speeches of MLK. I don't celebrate his holiday. And some things that have just recently happened here with my sister, who is the one that was closest to me. And when I saw how her and the manager of where I live met, and they are very connected to the police here, I reported her to the FBI. And right now I'm studying because I want to know more about what really happened between J. Edgar Hoover and MLK.
Now, what do you think happened between?
I don't know, but I do know this. His emotions, MLK's emotions, and his widow said this on the Tavis Smiley show, that that he was too emotional, and that he was too emotional. And there's a lady in Atlanta who was listening to his speeches when she was pregnant with her son. Her mother told her not to, and she did anyway. And her mother told her that his voice was scary, and there was D-E-A-T-H in his voice. And in the book, How to Kill a Black Man by Louis E. Lomax, he explained how you saturate him with the American dream, then deny him that, and he will violate his own ethical code and duplicate the like of Malcolm X and MLK. And so that's what he, and see, I've steered clear from all of that. And right now, Dr. Haney, I'm actually afraid of the emotions of a lot of American African people because I don't have them. And we lost our property, most importantly, in Alabama.
Very good. Sure. And of course, we're going to have to end this for today. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week. for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.
And a child's most basic fear is sound and falling. Even your own children, grandchildren, they need to hear to get another. Don't deny them that.
Yeah.
So you got to pray about it because you, you have grandchildren.
Yeah, I've got 2 grandchildren.